Hello, viewer. Welcome to Health Talk show. Today, in our talk, as you know, in GBS, we are concerned about your health. I am a host of the day, Ben Bella Onyino. And with me in the studio, I have a colleague and also a doctor in this profession who is going to introduce herself, a very beautiful lady in the studio. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ben, for having me. My name is Suni Wendy. I am a counseling psychologist. I'm here with the Coalition Action for Preventive Mental Health. So I do counseling treatment, do advocacy, and generally awareness creation. And I'm looking forward to the conversation that you're going to have today, Ben.
Welcome, Wendy. Now, today, being the month of September, we have a very interesting topic. Today we're going to talk about suicide prevention. Suicide, as you know, is a very sensitive issue in our society. Globally, statistics have it that globally we lose close to 700,000 people annually due to suicide. Here in Kenya, it's at the rate of 6.1% per 100,000. So those figures are just mind-boggling. It's the fourth leading cause of death globally, and amongst the other known diseases, among the diseases that we know. So today, our social media handles are GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. So engage us, send us a text as we talk about this sensitive issue of suicide. Welcome, Wendy. Welcome, Wendy. So we'll start by defining suicide. What is suicide?
Okay. Yeah, and I hope people are becoming more aware, just like you mentioned, that the rate of suicide is very high. And just to mention and to add on what you said, in Kenya, every day we lose 4 people to suicide. And so suicide is not something very new. When I say suicide, maybe there are some people who don't really understand it, but what it simply means is taking your own life or hurting yourself with the intention of dying. Why would I say with the intention of dying? Because there are some people who actually hurt themselves, but they don't intend to die. And that is another type of mental health issue that we can also mention as we talk about suicide. Yeah.
Thank you, Andy. So if somebody dies, if somebody doesn't die, is it still suicide?
No, if someone actually attempts to kill themselves or end their own life and they don't die, that we call suicide attempt. And unfortunately, it is something that has been criminalized in Kenya. And that is what we as the coalition, we are trying to push the government and the stakeholders to actually end that policy or that bill. Because why would someone be arrested for attempting suicide? And as we continue with this discussion, we'll be able to understand what are some of the factors that actually lead people to attempt suicide or even end their life by suicide, so that we can see and put an end to some of these policies that are actually causing more harm than good. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know about that one. Now, Wendy, besides defining suicide, what are the causes or the risk factors of suicide?
Okay. So this thing called suicide is very, very close to my heart, because I don't know about you, but I know many people, even some of our viewers, at some point you've heard about someone who has died by suicide, you've lost a loved one, or you've lost a family member due to suicide. So there's so many things that lead people to choose suicide as a form of ending their own life. As a psychologist in the profession, I've come to realize that there are so many factors that marry each other. And most times people will say, someone lost a girlfriend or someone lost a job. Other people lose their jobs, other people lose girlfriends, or other people lose their spouses. Why don't they end their life by suicide? So from research, you realize there are many factors. Let's say, for example, the key thing that has been coming out is if in your family, there's a genetic, we call it, I hope it will not be a very technical term, but there's a genetic predisposition to any mental illness. What do I mean by mental illness? Let's say, for example, we have families where most people are suffering from depression, bipolar mood disorder, and various disorders. So you find if there's a genetic predisposition in the family, if your great-grandfather or your father or a close uncle probably had a mental illness, that means you're also at risk of having a mental illness that could lead you to attempt suicide or even actually die by suicide. And that being one of the key factors, there are other things that come in. People are different. I might lose my job today and I will still hold on and all that. But you find there are personality traits, personality factors. For example, the main key component or the main key personality trait that has been linked to suicide attempts or suicide deaths is called impulsivity. You realize there are some people, and you can even notice even with their lifestyles, there are some people that maybe when something happens in their life, they react fast before actually thinking about the situation. Let's say you got a call that something bad has happened. You will realize there are some people who will react before actually finding out about finding more information about that issue. So this thing has been linked to suicide. You find that's why utapata in some cases someone will say, "Ay, but this person was very happy. We were with him yesterday." How comes? Because you find this is a person who reacts fast. So at that particular moment, before they actually think of the solutions, they will choose to end their own life. Maybe they got a result, a positive HIV result, and they're thinking, this is the end of my life. Before thinking about other options, they say, let me just go. And funny thing, Ben, let me tell you something. You know, from research, you realize most people who attempted suicide and they were asked about it, they really regretted. They said it is very painful. They said, and even those who actually ended up ending their life, even at the postmortem, you'll realize the morticians will give reports that they were attempting, maybe those who use a rope, they were attempting to release themselves. So this is something that is not easy, it is not sweet, it is very painful. And maybe just letting you understand and think about that. Yeah, these are some of them, but even as you continue, you'll come to realize there are many other dynamics. There are many other factors. You find you're very overwhelmed by stress and you don't have good stress management techniques. Other reasons could be you don't have a social support system. You're going through hardships like every other person, but you don't have anyone that you can depend on. And this can lead you to feel lonely and feel alone. Other factors like you feeling unloved, unwelcome, and many others. But as we continue the discussion, we'll get to talk about more and see even how we can be able to come in, maybe as a media, as an individual, as a country, and all that to help reduce these cases. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I'm learning a lot. Our viewer, hit on GBS TV, the media line, and also SMS line 21144 for questions and even some opinion about the show. Now, I've learned about the risk factors. There are so many, they're diverse.
Yeah.
Do you have any signs and symptoms?
Yeah.
Or any sign, somebody is showing some sign that they want to commit suicide?
Yeah. And actually, Ben, as we continue, I'd like to hold you on something that I've had you mention, and this is also an opportunity for even our viewers to learn. There's this term that has been used for a long time, the word commit suicide. And even with the coalition in partnership with lawyers and legal teams, we've pushed a bill and now we've eliminated the term committed. Now we said someone died by suicide because we've realized these are some of the factors that lead to stigma. Mbona, why should someone be told they committed suicide? Why don't you say you committed malaria or you committed typhoid? Some people die by suicide due to mental health issues, so we want to change those terms. And to answer your question, this is the one thing that I really like us to pay keen attention to. Most people say when someone has ended their life by suicide is, we did not see the signs. This person was very happy. How would we have known? So when you mention signs and symptoms are what the person feels. Let's say, for example, I am having suicidal ideations, I'm feeling suicidal. What I am feeling inside, these are some of the symptoms, and you will realize I will be the one feeling them. But signs are those that will be visible to others. So about the signs that you can actually be able to see is you will find someone that was very active, someone that loved to do things, they will start isolating and removing themselves. Some will hide, so you might not be able to see, but maybe if you pay close attention, you can be able to know. And why do I say why you should pay close attention is because in life, you realize so many things happen. Maybe I lost my job, or I lost a loved one, or I lost a spouse, and you find maybe especially for men, because the rate is actually higher amongst men, and you find this is something different that happened in my life, and most of my friends or the people around me, they're not paying attention. So because people maybe don't want to talk about it because they are careful, they don't want to hurt me, they realize you'll be alone. So when people are also not paying attention, you'll find I will even start giving out clothes. You'll find some people will start giving out their clothes. Others will start calling people like that, saying goodbye. Others will actually talk. They will even say, I feel like I'm tired of life. So when I look around me, I don't see any hope. I feel hopeless. Others will say they're feeling worthless. They're feeling like they're unlovable. These are some of the things that you will see or you will hear when they say. But not the symptoms, which most people do not actually say. You find someone feels like everything has stopped. They're feeling very stuck. And we actually encourage people to talk. And even as we continue the study, maybe we will touch on a few myths and misconceptions around suicide that are actually causing the rates to go higher. So maybe we can touch on that. But you'll find we encourage people to talk. When you're feeling these feelings, just to remind you as a psychologist that it is very normal. Once in a lifetime, you will feel like you're overwhelmed, you will feel stressed, but just to remind you that it is very normal. But talk. When you talk, you can be able to understand what is going on, and you can be able to help you at least go past those feelings and move on with life. Yeah.
Wow. That's so informative, Wendy. Thank you so much. Now, about still on this, the signs. Do you have you have said male, they're more likely to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Do you have also a profession that are more likely to commit suicide, or it is just cuts across the board?
Oh, yeah. Still on statistics of suicide. Yes, okay, the thing is, with suicide, there's usually attempts and there's usually completion. So what statistics has shown is most men, especially maybe like you mentioned profession, maybe people in the profession that are so demanding and profession that exposes you to a lot of trauma, like let's say our soldiers, our police, or maybe even our people in the helping professions, like our doctors. You find the nature of the job in itself can be overwhelming. So you find the rate is higher amongst those people. But why is it that for men it's higher? What happens? Men tend to choose very violent means of suicide. You'll find a man will there's a video I saw some time back, and even to caution people even at home, stop sharing those videos. It is not proper to do that. So you find a man will go and hang himself on an electrical line. So you'll find the means they choose, it's like automatic, it will lead to death. But for women, someone will choose maybe take 3 painkillers, 4 painkillers, like they don't choose really violent means. So that is why you find completion is high amongst men compared to women because of some of the means and even the fact that men don't like talking. I don't know why men don't like talking, but men don't like talking about their emotions. So you find they will end up completing suicide compared to the female counterparts. Yeah.
Thank you, Wendy. Before we go for break, you talked about stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know if you know that this family lost somebody due to suicide, society normally stigmatizes that family.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about it?
It is actually very sad because there's a time I attended a burial of a friend, and you realize even some religious leaders will refuse to officiate some of those funerals because they will associate it with some other factors. And also stigma comes even in the community. You will see and this is one thing that we're actually fighting to end. And when you mention stigma, I usually associate it with the lack of awareness. Because you'll find if someone, let's say I attempted suicide in my estate, maybe you will find when I'm walking around, there's how people will be looking at me. There's how people will be looking at our family. Let's say maybe my father maybe died by suicide and then maybe I attempted. People will start questioning. There's something wrong in that family. But what I want people to understand is no one wants to end their own life. People usually want the pain to end. So if you look at it from a perspective of those people, they're not bewitched. These are people that might be struggling with a health condition like any other health condition. You can look from it at a point of empathy and you'll be able to understand so that we end this these conversations that are actually causing people to die by suicide. So yeah, just more awareness, people to understand what suicide really is, what causes it, and then maybe that way we'll continue to spread love and stop stigmatizing people. Yeah.
My viewer, there you have it. Suicide, you have heard it. After we come back from the break, you are going to learn more about suicide. Remember to hit our social media handles, GBS TV Africa, our SMS lines 21144. See you after the break.